The moment the entire executive floor froze wasn't when the alarm started blaring, it was when a quiet janitor, pushing a worn-out cart with squeaky wheels, stepped forward and said he could fix a $200 million mistake in under a minute. People didn't laugh because they thought it was funny. They laughed because they thought it was impossible. Before we dive deeper into this unforgettable story, take a second. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and hidden talent, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Lifeline Tales. Stories like this deserve to be heard. It was a bright Tuesday morning, the kind where sunlight spilled through glass towers and painted the city in gold. Inside one of the most prestigious corporate headquarters in the country, panic was spreading faster than fire. Executives rushed through hallways, voices sharp, footsteps urgent, faces pale with fear. Screens in the main conference room flashed red alerts over and over again. A financial model, years in the making, had just collapsed in real time, threatening to wipe out a $200 million deal that could define the company's future. At the center of this storm stood CEO Alara Vance, known for her sharp instincts and ruthless efficiency. Her reputation had been built on precision. She didn't tolerate mistakes, and she certainly didn't forgive them. Yet now, surrounded by her top analysts, she could see it clearly: no one had an answer. The numbers weren't aligning, projections were failing, and the deal they had fought for was slipping through their fingers. Outside that glass-walled conference room, unnoticed by almost everyone, was a man named Kale Rowan. He wore a faded blue uniform, his name stitched unevenly onto the pocket. His hands were rough, his posture slightly bent, and his eyes carried the quiet exhaustion of someone who had seen too much life in too little time. He wasn't supposed to be part of this world. He was just the janitor. But Kale wasn't always just a janitor. Years ago, he had been a brilliant data analyst, known for solving complex problems others couldn't even understand. Life, however, had not been kind. After losing his wife in a sudden accident, everything fell apart. Grief swallowed his focus, bills piled up, and eventually, he lost his job. With a young daughter to care for and no one to lean on, he took whatever work he could find. That's how he ended up here, cleaning floors in a building where he once could have been making decisions. Every morning, Kale dropped his daughter Mira off at school before sunrise. She always hugged him tightly, whispering that she believed in him, even if the world didn't. That belief was the only thing keeping him standing some days. As Kale pushed his cart past the conference room, he caught a glimpse of the screens inside. Numbers. Charts. Equations. Something about them felt wrong. Not unfamiliar, just misplaced. His mind, trained over years, began to piece things together instinctively. He slowed down, his eyes narrowing as he watched the chaos unfold. Inside, voices grew louder. Someone suggested pulling out of the deal entirely. Another blamed a coding error. Another insisted it was a market fluctuation. But none of it felt right. Kale hesitated. He knew stepping in would be crossing a line. People like him weren't supposed to interrupt people like them. But then he thought about Mira. About the rent due next week. About the life he used to have, and the part of him that still refused to die. He took a deep breath and stepped inside. At first, no one noticed him. Then someone did, and frowned. A janitor in the middle of a crisis meeting wasn't just out of place, it was unacceptable. But before anyone could escort him out, Kale spoke. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried something rare: certainty. He said the model wasn't broken. It was misaligned. A single variable, adjusted incorrectly during a late-stage revision, had caused a cascading effect. Fix that, he explained, and everything else would stabilize. Silence fell. For a moment, it felt like time itself had paused. Then came the laughter. Not cruel at first, just dismissive. But it quickly turned sharp. A janitor claiming to solve a problem that had stumped some of the brightest minds in the industry? It was absurd. Alara didn't laugh. She studied him. There was something in his eyes she couldn't ignore. Not arrogance. Not desperation. Just clarity. She asked him how long it would take. Kale said, 30 seconds. The room shifted. One of the analysts scoffed, but Alara raised her hand, silencing him. She stepped aside and gestured toward the main console. It was a test. Nothing more. Kale walked forward slowly, aware of every eye on him. His heart pounded, but his mind was calm. This was familiar territory. Numbers didn't judge. They didn't doubt. They just responded. He scanned the data once more, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Then he made a single change. One adjustment. He pressed enter. The room held its breath. The screens flickered. Red turned to yellow. Then yellow turned to green. The projections stabilized. The losses reversed. The deal, impossibly, was back on track. No one spoke. No one moved. It wasn't just that he had fixed it. It was how easily he had done it. Alara stepped forward, her expression unreadable. She asked him how he knew. Kale didn't give a long explanation. He simply said that sometimes, when systems are built too carefully, people forget to check the simplest things. That answer lingered in the air long after he finished speaking. What happened next shocked everyone, not because it was dramatic, but because it was something no one expected from someone like Alara Vance. She didn't just thank him. She offered him a seat at the table. Not as a favor. Not as charity. But as recognition. The same executives who had laughed at him now sat in stunned silence as the CEO invited a janitor to join their ranks. Kale hesitated. This wasn't just an opportunity. It was a turning point. Accepting meant stepping back into a world he had lost. A world that had once broken him. But then he thought of Mira again. Her small hands. Her quiet belief. He accepted. The days that followed weren't easy. Talent didn't erase prejudice overnight. Some colleagues resisted him, whispered behind his back, questioned his presence. But Kale didn't argue. He didn't defend himself with words. He let his work speak. And it did. Project after project, he proved what he already knew, that he hadn't lost his ability, only his place. Alara watched closely. She saw not just his intelligence, but his resilience. The way he carried himself. The way he listened more than he spoke. The way he never forgot where he came from. Weeks later, she made another decision that surprised everyone. She created a new division, focused not just on profit, but on people. On finding overlooked talent. On giving second chances. And she asked Kale to lead it. The janitor who once cleaned floors now opened doors for others like him. At home, Mira noticed the change first. Her father smiled more. He wasn't as tired. There was light in his eyes again. One evening, she asked him if he was happy. Kale paused before answering. He said happiness wasn't something you find once and keep forever. It's something you rebuild, piece by piece, every day. And for the first time in a long time, he felt like he was building again. Before this story comes to an end, if it touched your heart even a little, take a moment to like, comment, and share it with someone who needs hope today. And don't forget to subscribe to Lifeline Tales for more stories that remind us what truly matters. Takes is one moment, one chance, for everything to